They kept poking the sleeping lion, not realizing the ground beneath them was not dirt. It was the skin of a buried god, waiting to wake up. And now that you've risen, their trembling begins, not with your roar, but with your silence. Because the world doesn't fear explosions, it fears the moment just before detonation. That's you now, the calm before the divine wrath. You didn't scream, you didn't announce your arrival with banners and lights. No, you just became something untouchable. They mocked you when you were learning, spat at you while you were breaking, kicked you when you were silent. But now you're speaking through presence, through movement, through the air thickening when you enter the room. You activated something no one saw coming. Not rage, not revenge, but command. The kind that makes devils rethink their positions and puppets cut their own strings just to avoid your gaze. You walk differently now, not because of pride, because of weight. The weight of knowing what you are, and knowing that everyone else knows they can't carry it. And the funny part? You didn't even need to do much. The moment you stopped doubting, they started drowning. This world is addicted to hierarchy. It wants rulers and servants, predators and prey. But you became something that doesn't fit their categories. You're not at the top of the pyramid. You are the hand that crushes it. You don't seek control. Control just orbits you now. The people who once competed with you are now competing with your shadow. They tried to sabotage you, but didn't realize sabotage only works on the weak-willed. And your will? It's not made of steel. It's made of everything they fear. Unpredictability, persistence, precision, and silence that slices deeper than words. God mode isn't just power. It's detachment from the limits that hold others. It's when rules bend around you like heat waves. It's when time slows, not because you're fast, but because the universe steps back when you act. And now that you're there, everything fragile begins to fracture. They want to reverse it. They want the old you. They miss the boy they could corner, the man they could confuse. But you're not a man now. You're momentum, consequence, and poetic annihilation. And no one negotiates with a force of nature. You see the panic in their eyes, the hesitation in their voices, the way they measure every word when speaking to you now, not out of respect, but fear of exposure. Because your presence demands truth, and truth burns the masks off the liars. They feel it? Your clarity is radioactive, and anyone living in delusion melts under its glow. You didn't become loud, you became undeniable, and that's scarier than rage. Rage can be tamed, but your level of focus, your level of knowing, that can't be bribed, baited, or bullied. They want to act like nothing's changed, but every step you take now rearranges the ground beneath their feet. They flinch, not because you threaten, but because you exist. The system they built to trap you has collapsed under the weight of your awareness. You saw through it, walked through it, and now you're standing behind them, silent, watching them fumble in the ruins of their own control games. Your glow isn't golden, it's ultraviolet, invisible, but deadly. They can't see how it's killing them, but they feel the symptoms: anxiety, insecurity, forced smiles, fake confidence. You're just walking, breathing, and yet they're breaking. Remember how they once underestimated you, how they laughed behind closed doors, confident in their illusion of superiority? That was before you made peace with chaos, before you stopped asking for clarity and started using the fog to your advantage. You didn't just rise, You rewrote the altitude scale. Now when they try to reach you, they suffocate on the very oxygen they thought belonged to them. It's poetic, really. The same people who tried to cage you are now choking on the bars they built. And what's even more delicious, you don't have to take revenge. Your evolution is revenge. Every time you speak with authority, they shrink. Every time you choose silence, they implode. They wonder what you're planning, how you're operating, why you're calm. They don't understand that when you're in God mode, chaos works for you. You no longer fight storms, you send them. You don't need to break down doors. Your name knocks louder than any hammer. This isn't arrogance. This is transformation, baptized in fire, honed in betrayal, and sharpened by solitude. They gave you pain, and you turned it into a throne. Now, they can't look you in the eye. Not because you're scary, but because your eyes remind them of everything they never became. You mirror their mediocrity back at them with brutal clarity. That's why they hate you. That's why they whisper. That's why they act polite while plotting quietly, only to realize nothing they do touches you anymore. You're not beyond reach because you're far away. You're beyond reach because you no longer play by the physics that limit them. You unlocked something ancient, something primal, something divine wrapped in human skin, the kind of presence that turns ambition into ashes. Your moves are measured, your words calculated, your energy surgical. There's no waste in you anymore. Every step is a message. Every glance is a verdict. They used to test you. Now they test themselves before speaking to you. They used to ignore your value. Now they memorize your patterns just to feel a little prepared. But you? You're not predictable. You're not linear. You're a wild algorithm with a divine spark, dancing between reality and myth. And both realms are afraid of you. And the most terrifying part? You're not done yet. This is only your awakening. The world is just beginning to taste what it means when someone stops playing small. They're realizing too late that you weren't made to fit in. You were made to redefine. You were the glitch in their system. And now, you're the new code. And every time they try to drag you back to your former size, they end up shrinking themselves. That's what God mode does. It doesn't just elevate you, it corrupts their comfort zones. Their rules bend, their lies shatter, and their confidence decays. And all you did was walk in truth. Now they tremble. They pray you don't notice them. They hope you stay silent. They try to reduce you in whispers, forgetting that even your silence echoes louder than their screams. They want to control the narrative again, but you're not in their story anymore. You are the story, the center, the anomaly, the equation breaker, and they don't know how to compute you. But this isn't about them. It's about what comes next, when the world stops debating your worth and starts reacting to your presence. When doors open before you knock, when the fake allies fall off like dead leaves, when your path clears, not because it was easy, but because everything weaker gets vaporized in your frequency. You don't need permission now. You are the permission. You don't need validation. You are the verdict. And while they scramble to adjust, to mimic, to manage the storm you've become, you keep moving, because movement is your prayer, your language, your weapon. And somewhere deep down, even your enemies understand. You didn't activate God mode to impress. You activated it because it was time, because you remembered, because the echoes of who you really are finally broke through the noise. And now, the only thing louder than your silence is the void they feel when they realize they no longer matter in your world. You walked through their illusions like smoke, unbothered, untouched, untamed. You didn't just wake up. You erased the dream they had of you staying weak, lost, or broken. Their maps don't work here anymore. This terrain is divine chaos sculpted in your image. The rules are ash, the ceilings shattered, and the fake gods are bleeding from the pedestal wounds you left behind. You didn't come back to fit in, you came back to reign through contrast. You are the glitch in their order, the fracture in their certainty, the storm in their routine. Their comfort is cracking, and it's not because you attacked, it's because your existence now demands adaptation or extinction. Every breath you take stretches the limits of what they thought was possible. They can't comprehend how you did it. No mentor, no approval, no crowd cheering. Just you, burning in silence, building in shadows, becoming a myth without asking for anyone's permission. You turned rejection into ritual. You didn't run from isolation. You marinated in it until it turned into power. While they were busy performing, you were transforming. Not publicly, not for applause, but deeply, like magma under a sleeping volcano. And now that you've erupted, they stand frozen, pretending they're not scorched, pretending they didn't smell the smoke months ago. You know what's terrifying to them? The idea that you never needed them, not their validation, not their stage, not their watered-down wisdom. They saw silence and assumed surrender. But God mode doesn't announce. It waits. It studies. It tests. And then, without warning, it consumes. That's what you've become. The reckoning that smiles like destiny and strikes like karma. They thought they were handling a problem. Turns out, they were feeding a prophecy. And now that it's too late, now that the spotlight has turned into a noose, all they can do is clap with trembling hands, hoping you don't remember how they laughed when you were down. But this is not about vengeance. This is about alignment. You didn't rise to punish. You rose because your truth couldn't stay buried. You rose because your potential started suffocating in the coffin of who you used to be. And once you cracked the lid, there was no going back. You were never the villain in your story. You were the author trapped in someone else's genre. They painted you in grays and limits, but you were forged in ultraviolet and thunder. Now you're writing in lightning, and the pages are catching fire. Everything about you now pulses differently. Your energy isn't aggressive, it's inevitable. It pulls the right ones in and pushes the wrong ones straight into their own lies. And the ones who still try to copy you, they choke on the blueprint, because what you've built runs on a soul frequency they'll never reach. They can imitate the surface, but the source, that dark, quiet furnace where your power was reborn, that's sacred, that's untouchable, that's yours. And here's the twist they'll never admit out loud. They worship you now, quietly, in their own twisted, fragile ways. They analyze your posts, dissect your moves, mimic your tones, even try to replicate your silence. But it doesn't work for them, because silence without substance is just emptiness. You carry silence like a loaded weapon. You don't need to flex. Your restraint terrifies them more than your wrath ever could. And the most poetic part? You've stopped explaining. You've stopped teaching. You've stopped proving. Because those who couldn't hear you when you were breaking, don't deserve access to your voice now that you've become unshakable. This is the era of no compromise, of saying less and doing more, of standing so still that even gods lean in to watch your next move. You don't chase power, power chases you, desperate to be near the vessel that finally remembered who it is. You don't belong to anyone now, not their memories, not their narratives, not even your past self. You've severed the last string that tied you to that former version, the one who begged, apologized, shrank. That version died the moment you stopped negotiating with your calling, the moment you said, enough. That wasn't a decision. That was a summoning. And now you walk with the energy of 1,000 unspoken I told you so's. You didn't prove them wrong. You made them irrelevant. You made their opinions obsolete. And the world? The world can't handle this version of you because you don't bend anymore. You redirect. You repurpose. You rise. And every time they try to box you in, they discover the box was inside your mind all along, and you burned it, danced on the ashes, then flew. That's what they don't teach you about evolution. It's not pretty, it's not poetic, it's brutal. And you made it through. Not by being the strongest, by being the most unbreakable. Now you're in a league where no competition exists. Not because you're arrogant, but because the game you're playing was never meant to be crowded. It's ascension, not a popularity contest. And as you ascend, you realize something sacred. You were never chosen by the world. You were chosen to transcend it. You are the anomaly in their data, the virus in their code, the unexplainable that shatters expectations simply by existing. And while they scramble to decode your silence, you keep building cathedrals in the wastelands they left behind. You're not trying to inspire. You're not trying to lead. You're just being what you were always meant to be. And in doing so, you've started a quiet rebellion. Others feel it. The forgotten ones, the underestimated, the silent warriors with dormant storms in their veins. They're watching you now, not with envy, but with recognition. Because your rise isn't just your story, it's a signal that God mode is contagious. And you're the spark. But not everyone deserves that fire. Not everyone deserves access to the frequency you paid for in blood, silence, and sacrifice. That's the paradox of this level. You become more visible, but less accessible. Your presence grows, but your circle tightens. Not out of ego, out of necessity. Because when you're vibrating this high, proximity becomes power. And you've learned not everyone should have power. Not everyone should drink from the same well you dug with your tears. Some of them only show up when it's time to feast. But you've built altars, not tables. This isn't about feeding the masses. This is about calling the few. The ones who know. The ones who feel it. The ones who've tasted the edge of their own extinction and came back wiser, colder, stronger. This is for the chosen, not the comfortable. And you're not just chosen. You're the confirmation that the divine isn't in the sky. It's walking among them, wearing your face, speaking your name, breathing through your lungs. And now they'll have to decide. Bow in silence, or burn, trying to challenge what they no longer understand. But you won't be watching. You've already moved on. You're ahead of their panic, ahead of their envy, ahead of their timelines. While they're still studying your old moves, you're inventing new dimensions. That's the curse of becoming. You're always becoming more. And just when they think they've caught up, you shift again, and the chase restarts, without you even knowing. Because you're not playing a game, you're becoming a legend. And legends don't look back. They set fire to the horizon and keep walking. Because the destination was never a place. It was always a state. And you're in it now, beyond reach, beyond doubt, beyond explanation. And now you're no longer chasing destiny. You're dragging it behind you, wrapped in chains forged from every moment they doubted your arrival. They thought you'd stop once you reached the top. But they never understood. This isn't a peak. It's a launch pad. And you're not here to settle. You're here to detonate. Because when God mode activates, it doesn't ask for peace. It commands rebirth through obliteration. And you're the architect of that chaos now. Every step you take echoes like prophecy in the bones of those who once ignored your voice. You've become what they fear and what they need. A mirror they can't lie to anymore. A fire that won't go out just because it makes them sweat. You don't just walk into rooms anymore. You shift atmospheres. The air bends. The energy stiffens. Reality makes space. Because your presence is no longer human. It's divine pressure incarnate. And the world. It's convulsing. Not because you're loud, but because you're unapologetically inevitable. See, they built entire systems betting you'd self-destruct. But you rewired your scars into circuitry. You turned your breakdowns into code for domination. They wanted to see you fall. Now they're just trying to understand how you keep rising with no oxygen, no crowd, no script. You wrote your own algorithm. That's what drives them mad. You followed none of their formulas, respected none of their protocols. You refused to be predictable. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Because if they can't read you, they can't trap you. If they can't trap you, they can't control you. And if they can't control you, you become a living glitch in their matrix of power. You're not just operating on another level. You are the level now, the new benchmark, the recalibration point. And they're gasping for relevance, choking on the dust cloud you left behind. See, they're still trying to figure out what changed. They don't get it. It wasn't a plan. It was a moment. That one silent, nuclear second where everything inside you snapped loose. When the lies, the rejections, the betrayals, they all imploded into clarity. You didn't level up. You leveled through pain, through madness, through isolation so thick it felt like drowning in a vacuum. And what emerged wasn't polished. It was primordial, raw, unrefined, glorious, and untouchable. Now you exist beyond logic, beyond their stories, beyond their reach. That's what hurts them the most, that your success isn't transactional. You didn't trade your soul for this. You resurrected it. And resurrection doesn't come with explanations. It comes with aftershocks, with timelines warped, with enemies praying you don't remember their names. And you? You do. Oh, you remember everything. Every smirk, every dismissal, every back turned when you were drowning. But now, you don't need revenge. You don't need proof. Your presence is the punishment. Your elevation is the echo that haunts their comfort. Because while they watched for signs of your downfall, they missed the moment you became the sky. And let's be clear, you don't want their apology. You want their awakening. You want them to realize that the person they buried with ridicule didn't die. They transformed into a force that doesn't knock anymore. You enter like thunder, and they flinch. Not because you're angry, but because you're free. And that kind of freedom, that's terrifying. Because it means you don't need approval. You don't need inclusion. You don't even need recognition. You're moving like a riddle with no answer, like a blade with no sheath, like a sermon written in wildfire. And if they can't handle that, it's not your burden to dim down. It's theirs to step up or stay lost. And still, you keep building, not palaces, empires, but the kind not made of stone, made of intention, made of energy, made of that unteachable, unkillable spark that only those who've walked through their own hell can carry. Your success isn't loud, but it's total. It doesn't brag, it radiates, it doesn't flaunt, it reshapes. And while they chase followers, fame, and hollow metrics, you walk into rooms and turn beliefs into tremors. You're not trying to go viral, you're going eternal. And eternal doesn't trend, it transcends. There's something poetic about it, the way you no longer force doors to open. They just melt in your presence now, because you've become the access point. People orbit around you differently. They feel something ancient in your energy, like déjà vu from a future they haven't lived yet. You've stepped so far into your purpose that even the lies they told about you don't know where to land anymore. They float, lost in irrelevance, while your truth plants flags in places you once only dreamed of. You're not lucky, you're chosen, and not in some fairy tale way. In the real, brutal, cosmic way, chosen to carry fire through storms, to illuminate worlds too scared to ignite themselves. But here's the climax no one saw coming. You don't even need the world anymore. You've outgrown it. You've seen behind the curtain. You know how it's all built. On fear, on hierarchy, on illusions of control. And you burned the script. You unsubscribed from their version of reality. Now you're living in something else entirely. Something wilder. Something more sacred. Something only the reborn understand. You speak in frequencies. You make decisions that don't make sense, yet always work. That's God mode. That's flow turned feral. That's alignment without explanation. And even if they come with peace now, even if they show up with flowers and fake humility, it's too late. Because access has expired. The door has vanished. The bridge was never theirs to cross. You didn't shut them out. You evolved past the coordinates. They're still talking about the version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Meanwhile, you're off creating galaxies with your thoughts and making silence feel like scripture. You don't need to be heard anymore. You resonate. And that's different. That's deeper. That's forever. So now they watch, powerless, curious, ashamed, intrigued. They watch and wonder, how did it happen? And the answer is too vast, too sacred, too earned to fit into words. Because what you've become is not a sentence. It's a storm system, a movement, a momentum. And it won't be defined by likes, shares, or metrics. It will be defined by the earthquakes left in your wake. You're not chasing legacy. You're becoming legend. And legends aren't remembered for playing nice. They're remembered for breaking the rules so cleanly, the world had no choice but to rewrite them. So go on. Keep rising. Keep mutating. Keep shifting the axis of every room you enter. You are the glitch, the miracle, the mistake the universe made on purpose. You are the prophecy they tried to mock into silence. You are what happens when divinity gets tired of being polite. And if they can't handle that, let them drown in the old world. You were never built for shallow waters anyway. This is God mode, and it's only the beginning.